The modern world has sold us a dangerous lie about personal growth, that it should be easy, comfortable, and instant. It is a fantasy whispered from every screen, a hollow promise sold in every self-help aisle. It is the gospel of the quick fix, the life hack, the 5 easy steps to enlightenment. This philosophy tells us that if we are feeling pressure, we should alleviate it. If we are in darkness, we should immediately switch on a light. If we are in pain, we should numb it. We have become masters of avoidance, experts in the art of the spiritual bypass, convinced that the goal of life is to construct a frictionless existence, a serene garden where no thorns are allowed to grow. But the great Sufi masters, the profound cartographers of the human soul, would call this a fantasy. They taught a more difficult but far more profound truth, a truth that runs counter to our every modern instinct. You cannot smell of roses, they would say, by simply walking through the garden. The fragrance does not leap onto you from a distance. You must bend your back. You must be willing to feel the sharp prick of the thorn against your finger. You must allow the branches to snag your clothes. The scent of the rose is the reward for a loving struggle, an intimate engagement with the flower's whole reality, both its softness and its sharpness. True transformation, they insisted, requires thorns. This ancient wisdom has been captured in a simple, almost modern-feeling parable, a story that could be told in any kitchen in the world. Yet within its simplicity lies a radical and life-altering secret. It reveals why the very suffering we try to avoid, the pressure, the heat, the confinement, is the non-negotiable price of a beautiful soul. It is an invitation to look at the most difficult moments of our lives not as interruptions to our growth, but as the very engine of it. It asks a revolutionary question: what if the pot you are trapped in is not a prison, but a crucible? What if the heat you are feeling is not a punishment, but the loving, transformative fire of a master alchemist preparing to turn the hard, plain kernel of who you are into something fragrant, beautiful, and utterly new? Let us begin with the kernel. Imagine a single, small, hard kernel of corn. It exists in a state of quiet dissatisfaction. It is a creature of sharp edges and unyielding form. In the world of this tiny kernel, its own nature is a source of sorrow. I am unloved, it might think, if kernels had such thoughts. My form is plain, my color is dull, my edges are sharp. When a hand reaches for me, it feels my pointiness and recoils. I am built for rejection. This is the lament of the raw self, the ego in its natural state. It feels its own limitations, its own inadequacies, its own sharp edges that seem to keep love and connection at bay. It sees its current form not as a state of potential, but as a final, unfortunate reality. This is the baseline of so much of our own inner monologue. We are the kernel. We look at our lives, our personalities, our circumstances, and we find them wanting. I am too impatient, we say. I'm not talented enough. I am not lovable as I am. We are acutely aware of our own hardness, our own plainness, and like the kernel, we believe that this is the end of the story. Then, one day, a hand descends. A force far greater than the kernel's understanding scoops it up. It is an act of sovereign will, an intervention that is neither requested nor understood. The kernel is placed with countless others into a deep, dark metal container, and before it can even begin to understand what is happening, a heavy lid is placed on top, sealing it in. The light is gone. The freedom is gone. There is only confinement, darkness, and the company of others in the same perplexing predicament.
This is the moment of trial. This is the hand of destiny placing us into the inescapable situation. The difficult job, the challenging relationship, the chronic illness, the period of profound loss. It is the pot from which there is no easy escape. Our first reaction, like the kernels, is confusion, followed by panic. What is happening? Why is this happening to me? We rattle against the walls, we push against the lid, we seek any possible exit. The defining characteristic of the pot is that there is no exit. The lid is sealed. The situation for a time is non-negotiable. Just as the kernel begins to acclimate to the darkness, a new element is introduced. A strange energy begins to permeate the floor of the pot. It is a warmth that quickly intensifies, becoming an uncomfortable, then unbearable heat. The pressure builds. The very ground beneath the kernels becomes a source of torment. The heat is relentless, impersonal, and inescapable. The kernels, in their terror, begin to jump and scatter. They fling themselves against the walls, against the lid, in a desperate, chaotic dance of avoidance. They collide with each other, each one trapped in its own private agony, each one seeking only to get away from the source of the pain. But their struggle is useless. The lid is sealed. The heat only grows more intense. This is a perfect metaphor for our reaction to suffering. The heat is the active element of the trial. The painful treatments, the difficult conversations, the relentless demands, the sharp sting of grief. And our instinctive reaction is to fight it. We thrash, we complain, we blame, we distract ourselves. We do anything and everything to avoid feeling the full intensity of the heat. We believe that the struggle itself is a solution, that if we just fight hard enough, we can somehow escape the inescapable. But the parable teaches a crucial lesson. The thrashing does not lower the temperature. The panic dance does not remove the lid. It only exhausts our energy and deepens our sense of frantic desperation. The Stoic philosopher Seneca spoke of this exact dynamic nearly 2,000 years ago. He said, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant." The kernels in the pot are being dragged. Their resistance does not change their destination, it only makes the journey agonizing. The path to transformation is not in fighting the heat, but in changing our relationship to it. Now comes the most important moment in the story, the pivot upon which all transformation turns. The little kernel, which had been thrashing with all the others, becomes utterly exhausted. Its energy is spent. It can no longer fight. It can no longer jump. In a moment of profound defeat, it gives up. It surrenders. It lets go. It ceases its struggle and simply becomes still, accepting the full, unmitigated force of the heat. It stops trying to escape its reality and for the first time fully inhabits it. And in that precise moment of surrender, something miraculous happens. The lid is lifted, the pressure is released, light floods the space. The little kernel, now a being of a completely different form, looks around in wonder. The world is filled with the most extraordinary shapes. Some of its companions look like soft white clouds, others look like fluffy lambs. Everything is changed. An air of silent astonishment fills the pot. Everyone is looking at everyone else, asking with their new forms, "Who are you? What have you become?"
Confused, our little kernel catches its reflection on the shiny inner wall of the pot, and it sees that it too is unrecognizable. The hardness is gone, replaced by a delicate, expansive softness. The sharp edges have vanished, blossoming into an intricate, beautiful, flower-like form. It is no longer a small, dense, plain thing. It is now vast, light, and white. And then the hand returns, but this time it is not the hand of a mysterious captor, but the gentle hand of a loving admirer. It lifts the transformed kernels and places them in a beautiful bowl. And a voice is heard, full of delight and appreciation. "Oh, how beautiful you have become! How wonderful you smell! How delicious you taste! In that moment, the kernel understands. The entire process, which felt like a terrifying, random ordeal, was actually a purposeful, loving act of transformation. The confinement it fought was a necessary container for the change. The heat it tried to escape was the very agent of its beautification. The terrifying moment of breaking open, which it surely would have avoided at all costs, was its birth into a new and glorious reality. It learned the fundamental law of the soul. There is no beauty without the fire. There is no fragrance without the pressure. There is no softness without first enduring the heat that breaks the hardness. The suffering was not an obstacle to its becoming, it was the path itself. This parable is what we might call the popcorn principle, and it is one of the deepest truths of the human experience. It is the core of what modern psychology has identified as post-traumatic growth. Researchers have found that a significant number of people who experience traumatic events, the most intense forms of heat, report positive changes in their lives afterward. They report a greater appreciation for life, deeper relationships, a stronger sense of personal strength, and a more profound spiritual life. They have, in essence, popped. Their hard kernel of a worldview was shattered by the heat of trauma, and in its place, something more expansive, compassionate, and beautiful has grown. The parable teaches us that patience, or sabr, in the Sufi tradition, is not a passive, gritted teeth waiting for a difficult situation to end. That is the stage of the thrashing kernels. True patience is an active, courageous surrender. It is the conscious decision to stop fighting the heat, to become still, and to allow the transformative process to do its work. It is an act of profound faith, a trust that the pot is a crucible, not a tomb, a trust that the alchemist knows exactly what he is doing, even when the heat feels unbearable. Why is this process necessary? Why can't we just become beautiful without the fire? The user's provided text touches on a deep theological point. God created patience as a mechanism for elevation. The challenges, the sorrows, the struggles, these are the curriculum of the soul. An easy life produces a hard, undeveloped soul, like an unpopped kernel. It remains in its raw, limited, self-centered state. It is the friction, the pressure, the heat of difficulty that polishes the human heart and allows its inner essence to emerge. As the great poet Rumi, a master of this wisdom, wrote, "Grief can be the garden of compassion. If you keep your heart open through everything, your pain can become your greatest ally in your life's search for love and wisdom." The heat is the gardener's hand, tilling the hard soil of our hearts so that something new can grow. This wisdom is not exclusive to Sufism. It is a perennial truth that appears in all great traditions. The Stoics of ancient Rome built an entire philosophy on this principle. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He was saying that the obstacle, the heat, the sealed lid, is not a barrier to the path, it is the path. The fire that melts the wax is the same fire that hardens the steel. The trial itself contains the fuel for our growth if we know how to use it. Our job is not to pray for the heat to be turned down, but to learn how to become the kind of material that is glorified by the fire.
Let us now bring this ancient fire, this crucible of becoming, into the quiet space of your own heart. This is a moment to honor the heat in your own life, not as an enemy, but as a teacher in disguise. Settle into your body. Feel the ground beneath you, the chair supporting you. Take a slow, deep breath, and as you exhale, let go of the day's struggles, just for this moment. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Bring to your mind's eye a pot, your pot. It is the central, inescapable challenge you are facing right now. It could be a situation at work, a conflict in your family, a health concern, or a deep personal struggle. See it clearly, without judgment. This is your crucible. Acknowledge the walls, the confinement. Acknowledge the sealed lid, the sense that there is no easy way out. Now become aware of the heat. What is its nature? Is it the slow burn of chronic anxiety? The sharp fire of a recent grief? The friction of a difficult relationship? The pressure to perform? Don't flinch from it. Just for a moment, allow yourself to feel the temperature without telling the story of why it's unfair or how you wish it would go away. Just be with the sensation of the heat. Notice your response to it. Are you a thrashing kernel? Are you jumping, resisting, fighting, trying to find an escape? Can you feel the exhaustion of this struggle? Can you feel the frantic energy of avoidance? Again, no judgment. This is the most natural human response. Simply observe your own dance of resistance. Now, I invite you to perform a radical experiment. Just for the next few breaths, in the safety of this moment, I invite you to stop. Stop jumping, stop thrashing, stop pushing against the lid. In your mind, let your body become still and heavy. Let yourself come to rest on the floor of the pot. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, consciously surrender to the heat. Say to yourself in the silence of your heart, I let go. I stop fighting. I allow this process to be what it is. Feel the profound shift in your energy as you move from resistance to acceptance. It is the feeling of a clenched fist finally opening. It is the feeling of a warrior laying down their heavy sword. In this stillness, in this state of active surrender, you are not giving up on life. You are giving up the exhausting struggle against life. You are allowing the alchemist to do his work. You are trusting that the heat is not there to destroy you, but to transform you. You are trusting that on the other side of this fire lies a new form, a new fragrance, a new beauty you cannot yet imagine.
Rest in this stillness. Rest in this courageous patience. This is the eye of the storm. This is the quiet center where the real miracle unfolds. You are no longer a victim of the fire. You are a partner with it. The final gift of the parable is the voice of admiration. How beautiful you have become. How wonderful you smell. This is the destiny of the soul that endures. The purpose of the trial is not to make us miserable. It is to make us beautiful. It is to burn away the hard, protective shell of the ego so that the soft, expansive, and fragrant nature of the spirit can emerge. The patience we cultivate during the trial becomes a permanent part of our new form. The strength we gain from enduring the heat becomes our inner resilience. The compassion we learn for ourselves and our fellow suffering kernels becomes the sweet fragrance we offer to the world. We do not become beautiful in spite of our suffering. We become beautiful because of it. The lines of character on a wise person's face are carved by tears. The depth in their eyes comes from having stared into the darkness. The softness of their heart comes from having been broken open. Therefore, when you find yourself in the pot, when the lid is sealed and the heat is rising, try to remember the parable of the kernel. Your pain is not a sign that you have been abandoned. It is a sign that you have been chosen.
You have been placed in the crucible because the great alchemist sees within you the potential for a glorious transformation. Your suffering is a sacred process. Your patience is the key that unlocks the miracle. Do not curse the fire. It is the sculptor's tool. Do not resent the confinement. It is the kiln that will turn your clay into a masterpiece. Surrender to the process. Trust the heat. A new and fragrant world awaits on the other side of the fire.